So we've been looking at spinal mobility, and we've done the back curving and uncurving, which is a fairly standard one. We've also looked at side bending, which we did in standing. Today we're going to do it on all fours and then combine the two. And what tends to happen is you get into a little bit more of the back than maybe you would by isolating. So just see how you get on. So we're going to come into all fours position, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and start with that cat and cow. So head lifted, tuck the tailbone under, curl up the spine all the way, head last, and then go again with the tailbone, lower back, mid back, shoulders and heads up last. Now the one thing to avoid here is pushing with your hands, which tends to take it into the upper body, and it's more about shoulder movement then, less about spine, and you tend to miss out that low back. So focusing in on that low back, and if you need any extra, then go back to the first video, and that'll show you how to isolate it. So then we're going to go into that side bend. So all you're going to do is a nice easy little wag of your tail. So you're just letting your hips move from side to side, bringing them towards your rib cage, and you're looking for not a crunch on the shortening side, but looking for that space on the side that you're moving away from. So then we're going to add to that, we're going to turn your head towards the hip that's moving. So your head and your hip come together and then go the other way. So you're getting that movement of your rib cage then as well. So your ribs come a little bit closer to the hip, your waist shortens on one side, and you should feel a little bit more space on the other. So that's where we're going to move from. But before we do, a little bonus extra is to bring your heel into that as well. So your heel, your hip, your head all move in one direction, and you should feel that is a really nice side bend through. Getting a little bit further into it then, you might feel a bit more going on in your hip as you start to bring that heel in. So the knee stays down on the floor and you're just rotating the leg out. Let's just do one more on each side. Lovely. And back to centre. So what we're going to do is we're going to side bend to one direction. So heel and hip come together. Sorry, hip and head come together. Bring your hand over to that direction and then stay there and do your cat stretch here. So head relaxes down and then lift your tailbone, lift your head. And again, so we're staying in that bend, and it just gives you a little bit more of a stretch. And also I think it's harder to push into your hands too much here because you need them for support and stability. So you might find that you can get a little bit more going on in your lower body. So then bring it back to centre, turn your hip and your head to the opposite direction, hand comes over, and again into that little curl. So let your head move with it, go slower if you want to. Maintain that side bend, but adding in that little curl as well. And that really gets down towards my pelvis. Lovely. Last one, draw it back to centre. Now, we're going to circle through. So for most times a circle might mean this movement, which is lovely. It might mean the pelvis, which is also lovely, really good for the pelvic floor as well. But we're going to do a side bend, and our circle is going to go this way instead. So instead of going back or just the pelvis, we're going around. So it might take a bit, and I know one way is easier than the other for me, so just see how you get on with it. So think of your side bend first, arch up, side bend the other way, and then come down. So you curl and side bend. Side bend, lift, side bend, relax. And once you've got it, you can start to move into a more smooth circle. And again, you're getting into lots of space there. I have to say, I've had to do this recording quite a few times this morning for various microphone issues, and my back is feeling lovely there. It was quite crunchy to start with, and now it's really good. So now, other way to start with. This is still my tricky side, I have to think a little bit more about this one. So side bend, curl up, side bend, come down, and then start to make that a smoother movement. Lovely. And again, let your head move with it. So don't keep it lifted, let it drop down as well. I keep forgetting. And draw it back. Lovely. So hopefully that feels really good. If your wrists are a bit achy, hands in, elbows in, just give them a little circle through. You could do it down on your elbows for some of it if you want to take a break off. Interlace your hands the other way and then reverse that figure of 8. So that has targeted a lot of your spine. There's one more movement that we've got, and that is a rotation, and that's where we'll go tomorrow. Thank you for joining.